Today on the Quarter Hour podcast, we meet one of the winners from the recent Australian Audio Awards who turned her own family's personal journey into some of the best radio you will ever hear, and she just happened to take home the prize for Best Specialist Program for her efforts.
Autism Awareness Week won a very special award at the Australian Radio Awards Thursday night. It was just amazing and so cool. And you know why? Because it's for all those kids with autism, all those kids that get bullied every day and feel different and feel left out at times. You know what? This is for you guys.
It is. But you know what? It's also because you made great radio.
Oh.
You made that story for everyone to hear.
Well, hi and welcome to the Quarter Hour podcast hosted by Wade Kingsley. I'm your guest host, Liam Renton, and today we are chatting to media personality, former TV news gal, radio host and newspaper columnist Sami Muirhead, one half of the Todd and Sami radio show for the last 20 years. She now hosts her own show, Sami and Friends, and she recently won Best Specialist Program Medium for Todd and Sami's Autism Awareness Week. Sami, welcome to the Quarter Hour podcast.
Liam, you do it so well. I love sitting in a studio with you any day. I have a little bit of imposter syndrome, but listening to you say all that, and I feel old.
Well, run me through your career. For those that don't know, I mean, you're just warming up, but you started in TV.
I did. I was a journo through and through. Loved journalism. It was my life. I was that journo who would get to the newsroom at 6 a.m. and leave at 7 p.m. and go out and drink with the police and the journos and the fireys trying to get more stories.
And you worked with the legendary Rob Brough.
I did.
Who everyone would know.
I did for a very long time.
Survey says Rob
And
Brough.
a lot of my best friends are still from those formative years, you know, in my 20s. I learnt from the best. We worked hard. Regional TV journos work hard. You are running around all day.
And you rocked a good lob back in the 90s.
I don't know about that. I wore those red power suits from Q and I was like 21 and you look like a kid, right? Trying to play dress ups.
How did you move into radio? Because originally you went to Hot 91.
Yeah, so I did Brekkie at Hot for over 10 years. So originally I was always news and I was about to turn 30 and I'd done news for 10 years, worked for Channel 7 and for Win News. And they had local news at Hot 91 on Saturday and Sunday. So I did the news because I was always looking for an extra buck.
Yeah.
So I went in and that's when we had live news and then you'd also go into shows and talk a bit about the news headlines and it was all live and wonderful and amazing. So I was working 7 days. I actually worked with Wade. He was my boss.
Oh.
He was very kind to me.
Because my boss too.
Yeah, right. I needed the extra money and he was like, you're working 7 days. You're going to burn out. And I was like, no, I'm good. I also was good because I didn't have kids then, didn't have,
barely slept.
Work was life, yeah. And at the same time, Daniel Morecambe, the story was happening, the horrible story of Daniel Morecambe who was taken, later found murdered, pedophile in jail now. So I got to be friends with Daniel's parents, Bruce and Denise, because we were always interviewing them under these horrific circumstances. And I started to just for the first time in my life go, oh, do I want to do this for the next 30 years? Like it's fires, fatals, murders. It was starting to lose its shine. And then at the same time, Rick Chapman, Ronnie Stanton, radio kind of royalty, and Dee Johnson came to me and said, hey, come to the real media, come and work in radio and do a drive show. No one was really doing local drive shows at that time and come and do it with another woman.
Wow.
And I thought, I don't know about that. And it's the best thing I ever did in my life, Liam. I have never looked back. I just love radio.
So I remember that drive show, although it was short-lived. I used to listen to that drive show. And it was called Hot 91's Jaded Ladies.
Yes.
And it had a real killer soundtrack because it used an Aerosmith song as your theme song. Jaded was the song of the day. And it didn't last long.
No.
Why?
No, it lasted less than 2 months.
I loved it.
Yeah, look, I reckon a combination. If I had a shot at that again, I'd do it a lot differently. I think I was a bit young and silly. The bosses said it was too chicky. What do you think you're going to get when you put two women together? I don't know. It was a shame, but because it was great and it was innovative and it really was ahead of its time. But it 2 months and they axed it.
And from there, is that where they paired you with Todd Widdicombe?
They paired.
What a great radio guy. Great radio brain.
He's 27 years he did 27 years radio. He's sadly missed. He's not dead. He's alive. He just opted to go out on his terms late last year and have a break from.
You did
from the
Brekkie together
dance.
for 10 years, and then
Brekkie
you moved
10.
to Drive for 10 years together.
Yeah, I think we did 11.
You,
So we
you
were
crossed the road over to Mix FM.
and again, that was, we came to do Drive, which was new in itself as well, which was really cool to have a drive show at Mix FM when a lot of other places are shutting up shop or putting national shows on. The Sunny Coast is pretty good for having local shows. It's the most hotly contested drive market in Australia. We've got so many drive shows on the Sunny Coast.
So 20 years in a duo, one or two highlights, what stands out?
Oh, God. Oh, Todd was just a ticket to ride a roller coaster. He's just incredible. He's so, as you know, Liam, he's so good at his craft. He's so quick on the panel. He's so quick, his brain. But what sets him apart as well, I think, is he's so genuinely kind and a good human being. He taught me it's 60% on air and 40% in the hallways.
Yeah.
So how you treat people every day. And he genuinely would mean it. You'd get in the lift and 20 minutes later, I'd be the bad cop going, Todd, we've got an interview, we're late. And he'd be chatting away with his new best friend. But he was so genuine and just a crazy brain. Those promotions meetings we would have would just be crazy. And half of his hairbrand ideas would actually take off because he brought such passion and energy to it all.
Was it like a marriage breakup?
Yeah, it was sad. It was tough. It was very tough for me because I had been partnered with him very young. I was, it was all I really knew. And he is a very strong on-air presence. And I think I'm happy always to you can't have two strong people always. I'm always happy to be the cheerleader and do the work behind the scenes, We both have a great work ethic, but I was probably more doing it behind the scenes and things like that. So, yeah, it was weird, really weird.
Anyone that ever listened would know that you told him you loved him every single show you did. Do you miss it? Do you grieve it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's the emailing, right, in the morning of what about this for a great idea? Or what do you reckon? And the simple everyday, kind of like seeing your hairstylist and that, right? Every day of, what'd you have for dinner? And it's not the big ticket items I miss talking about. It's the little stuff. And he treated me really well. I went with him. He was the matchmaker of my husband and I. I went through IVF with my husband and we lost 13 babies along the way. Todd was there for that. He was at my wedding. He was my groomsmate. What was he called? Bridesmate. And same, my dad died. Same for him. He's had 4 kids. I've had 3 kids. We've been there through all of that.
Yeah. It was a beautiful on-air relationship and you could feel that warmth through the air. You've reinvented yourself. You've got your own show now.
Unexpectedly. Yeah, so I did not back myself. That imposter syndrome thing came through. I ummed and ahed after 20 years. Did I want to keep working full time? It takes a lot of time, right? And I've never been the mum. I've never done the pickup. I've always been like, I love working. I love radio. But I thought, it's maybe time. But it took me 5 weeks to work that out. So I resigned 5 weeks after Todd. So then Mix FM said, well, cool, but you do your 5 weeks without him. So I kind of bumbled into this show by myself for 5 weeks thinking, I got nothing to lose. I've resigned and just had fun. And I relaxed a bit, I reckon. And then management came and went, if you can, let's make it a show. So, yeah, so good. I went for a ice bath. So I had one today and I packed in such a hurry this morning when I left home really early. Pull out my black one-piece togs.
Oh, nice.
I've got my daughter's black one-piece togs. She's like a size 6 and I'm like a 14 on a good day. So I don't have time to go home. Oh, well, then they get a treat. Big, white, flabby, middle-aged woman in a bit of dental floss.
It's a great show.
Thanks, Liam.
1 hour a day, if you don't mind.
It's grueling.
Tell me about National Autism Week. Where did this come from, especially as a radio promotion? Because we've heard of the week before, but you turned it into something different.
Yep. So Cassie, our promotions guru, and Ben, our boss in content, it was their idea. I took it and Todd and I ran with it, and then Ben and I did it again for the second year. It was a big deal. Todd and I had a rule for 20 years. We did fun on radio. We only did fun, light, jokes, upbeat. We don't do sad. We don't do scary. We don't do hard news. And I have a beautiful boy. I have 3 kids, but one of my beautiful boys, Nixon, has autism. We had never talked about. I still get emotional talking about it because it's still raw. I had not really talked about it publicly. It was very much something we kept at home. Our best friends knew. Nixon's been in therapy since he was 6 months of age. And when I talk therapy, gosh, every day. And the team at Mix said, hey, why don't we talk about it? Why don't you talk about it and talk about your days that people probably don't realise, and bring in a young person with autism every day, a different person. They were our co-host. We shone the spotlight on them. It was incredible. I've never in my wildest dreams would have imagined the response of people who are affected by autism.
I heard you cry. It's going to make me cry. We're both tearing up.
God.
I heard you cry on air every day for a week.
Yeah.
And I cried with you.
Yeah, thanks, Liam. It was genuinely powerful and special, and I think I was still grieving at that stage on air and talking about it. But, man, I'm glad I did, because the warmth of the sun, we just had the Sunny Coast wrap our arms around us, it felt, and so many people saying, my granddad has autism, my cousin, my son, it's crazy. It's crazy. What a great thing radio did, really.
So 20 years of dad's jokes, which you're famous for on the Sunny Coast.
Yeah.
How did you decide to allow yourself to be so intimate with your listeners?
Yeah, it was scary to be vulnerable, and I was worried people would criticize me or say, oh, she's milking it for attention, all that, that voice we all have, I guess, in our head. It helped because I knew Todd and trusted Todd so much. It definitely helped. My husband agreed to it because we always had a deal. We'd check with each other, obviously, to do anything like that. And it's a pretty safe space, this studio, It's a pretty safe space, and our listeners are just the best people in the world.
What did you learn about yourself during the autism-inspired shows?
Wow. I learned it's okay. It's okay. Not everything can be changed. Not everything can be fixed in life, that it's okay. And there's lots of people there's lots of people doing it tough with scary things ahead of them. And it's okay. It helps to talk about these things very much.
There were a lot of positives that came out of it. You've obviously probably thought about it a lot yourself. What did you see? What were the positives that came out of a whole week of shining the spotlight on what autism looks like for different people? You had a different kid on every day. They were the star of this town every day for a week.
We had one boy called Sebastian. Seb is teased and bullied every day at school, had a horrible backstory. He's got a beautiful mum and brother. He came on, and we tried always to give them the spotlight and give them a voice. Seb was just a superstar. He challenged Todd to a game of handball in front of Seb's entire primary school. We get to the primary school, and there's like 700 kids. They're all chanting for Seb. The headmaster's there. Of course, Seb won. Seb was just the hero of the school. The whole school got bought icy poles. It was incredible.
So what you've just described to me there as the ultimate radio promotion, right? So where does the showbiz end? This is really raw. Where does the showbiz end and the real family, real life issue take over? Yeah,
well, I think you come back clunking back to ground pretty quickly when you go home and shut the door, and there's, Nixie still has autism and it doesn't go away. So I think that's when the showbiz ends. But I wanted it to be genuine on air. I wanted it. None of it, of course, was made up. None of it. It was all very genuine and very. The showbiz didn't even come into it, to be honest. It was just, let's tell this story and see what happens. And it kind of grew this life of its own.
Yeah. Would you have done anything differently?
No. I would have done it years earlier if I'd been brave enough. Yeah.
Because you've created a legacy. You've done it twice. I mean, you've won a national award, which wasn't the aim, but you're going to do it again next year. So this has now become an annual thing.
Yep. Our general manager, Caroline Hutchinson, who's been on this show, has already said, yep, we're doing it next year. And we've got support of all the management, and I would love to do it again. Bring in, new people. I'll go shopping, whatever I'm doing, at least a few times a week. People will stop and want to talk about someone in their life with autism. It's pretty cool. My boy Nixon, he left this message when he found out. So this is my beautiful Nixie and his message.
Hi, Mum. I'm very happy that you have won the award. I'm really happy, and it's really good for autism children, definitely, 100%. I'm just happy that you won it, and because I know you put in a lot of effort. It just means a lot, because, I know you put in a lot of work. It just means a lot that the board actually voted for it, because it was against a lot of other categories, especially in Australia, which is a pretty big country compared to some other countries. So, I think this means a lot for the autism community.
Good on you, Nick.
Yeah.
What did your son think?
Nixon loved it. He loved it. He loved being a superstar. He knows he did really great work. I always, try to go out of my way to say there's other great things about him. He loves horror movies. It's not just, I don't want him to just be in that one box of having autism, but he loved it. And I hope it gets him some cred points at school because, like a lot of people with autism, he really struggles with friendships and things like that. Life can be pretty lonely.
So let's make this a teaching moment. How can you teach the next generation of radio superstars about real connection on the air?
Well, we used to have had so many good PDs over the decades, but I had
Name them.
Dave Smith. Dave Smith was incredible. Rod Bryce, like institution of radio. But Dave Smith used to say to me two things. Show up. Every day is half the battle. Just show up. Even if you're not feeling it, if you're sick, whatever, try to just show up. And we're that generation, Liam, you and I. If you're sick, you're still calm. You just come in late and you leave early. And if you have sick kids, my kids are growing up under the panel, under the desk of a radio. They just, as toddlers, would have us sleep or whatever. But as for real connection, Dave Smith used to try to get us to talk about, to be more vulnerable and more serious, and we resisted it. We were like, no, we're going to do should pizza have pineapple, boom tish, we're going to do dad's jokes. And he said, you need the light and shade. You need the light and shade in life to cut through. And sometimes that, when you go serious, it cuts through so much more.
I hear people try and get real connection and they'll put a topic on a whiteboard and they'll go, oh, we've been through IVF, we'll talk about IVF. Just because you talk about it doesn't mean you're connecting. And sometimes I say it's all touch, no feel. So how do you get them to feel something?
I am a slow adapter to social media, but I do think with Autism Awareness Week, the videos helped because you could see these beautiful young people with autism and you could see they were really nervous and looking down at the ground often, or that you could see their quirks. Some had stutters. You could probably see that I was very emotional and I wasn't my normal bubbly self. I actually think that worked really well. And I don't love social media. I'm not one to be like, let's do a selfie. But I think it was that extra layer. And it made all sorts of records, how many times it was shared. I don't know the numbers, but it was, people were sharing those videos a lot because I think people could relate to it. Yeah.
You are, I love this industry. I love radio. I love radio people. And, we know a lot of people in radio. You are the closest I've ever met to Sami off air to Sami on air. Like you're like 98%. Like, yeah, you whack a bit of razzle dazzle in there and you know how to take a joke and be the fool guy. But you are the closest I've ever met to being the same person.
Thanks, Liam. That's a really big compliment. And it's taken me to be forced to work by myself to feel comfortable even hearing that, or, to kind of find my own groove a bit. So, yeah, thanks. It's a bloody good industry, isn't it?
It's the best,
yeah.
isn't it? And I just want to pump your tyres up as we wrap it up. If someone hasn't told you today,
right,
you are a radio superstar. Okay, let me be the first to say it today. You are a genuine radio superstar. You're one of the most entertaining, engaging, real and authentic broadcasters I've ever heard. And it's actually a joy to listen to Sami and Friends on Mix FM.
It's a joy to do it. It's pretty cool. It's a fun, loose show. Thank you, Liam.
Congrats on the award. You deserved it. Sami, thank you for being our guest on the Quarter Hour podcast.
Oh, you're the best. Thanks, Liam. And hi, Wade. Thanks for not firing me all those decades ago.